And we are live here on the Frugal Crafter YouTube channel. I'm Lindsay, and in the studio with me today again is Sarah.
Yay, I'm over my turkey coma.
After a little brief vacation.
Yeah, unintended, but whoops.
That's okay. November was quite a crazy month, so that's fine. Today we are going to paint a snowy landscape. I have it taped in front of me, but I'll bring it over so you can see. We got beautiful colors, the same colors that we did in our frosty fall landscape that was really popular a couple weeks ago. So we're going to bring back those colors again, and we are going to paint with those. We're going to sketch together. And before we begin that, I just want to thank our sponsor, jerry'sautorama.com. You can find all the supplies that we use today from Jerry's, and there is a supply list in the video description if you need it. We're going to start by putting on a horizon line about, I would say, a quarter of the way up on your paper. Just kind of go straight across. And just, I'm going to draw fairly dark so you can see it, but just kind of keep yours a little on the light side. And I might have to tip my board because we're filming up in the office today, so it's just a different setup. I'm usually standing and looking down at my workspace, so I'm sitting at my desk right now. And we're going to have a road, and we kind of have this thing called one-point perspective going on. And I don't want to put it quite smack dab in the middle. I'm just going to have it slightly off to the side, so kind of over here. I'm just putting a point just so I know where my road is going to. And then I'm going to come out from there a little bit, and I am going to draw an angled line going towards the corner there. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to bring it up this way. I also want to put a little house over here because I think it's kind of a nice little touch. So I'm doing a little peaked roof there. Chimney, I'm just going to pull that back. I think it might be a barn. And then there's actually a little fence in front of the house, so kind of wrapping around the property. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Now, when you're doing one-point perspective, pretty much everything that you draw is going to fade back to that point. So when I'm putting the top of that fence in, I'm just making my line, extending it to there. I'm not really drawing that all the way, but I'm just kind of making sure that's going to agree. So when you hear people talking about one-point perspective, that's what they mean. So I'm going to stop that fence there, but then we get another shorter one there. I'm going to pull that one back right to that same point, vanishing point right there. Make it a little shorter. And then we're going to have a fence over here, and I'm going to make a line that is going to kind of be the imaginary top of my fence. I'm going to start the fence probably up here. Bring that line back to the vanishing point very lightly because I am going to have to erase that. And then I'm going to start drawing some fence posts. The fence posts, of course, are going to go vertically rather. And as they carry on down the road, they're going to get a little skinnier and a little shorter. So I'm making the height of the fence post to fall on that line. And they can get a little closer together as they get further away because they are going that your space gets compressed as you go further away. And if you have any questions that occur to you while we're sketching, go ahead and put them in the chat. Just type the word question in all caps, and then type your question normally. So that way, hopefully the spam filters on YouTube won't like kick you out or anything.
People are saying they're getting a little bit of fuzziness on the picture. So I don't know if it's because you're sketching and it's not sure where to focus.
It might be because I have my camera up quite a bit higher than it was last time. So I have this at 720p. You should be getting this at 720p resolution. But since it is a little higher, I had to zoom in. So maybe that's it. We'll see how it goes as we progress. Hopefully we'll be all right.
Well, it could be too because it's a lot of white and
nothing really for it to focus in on. I'm just trying to think if I have something. Let me put this ruler down. Let's see. Hopefully that looks pretty crisp, I think.
Well, I'm waiting for it to catch up on my side. It's not fuzzy. There we go.
Can you see that there?
Yeah. See, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, it's hard to say. I don't know. I think it could be just because I'm wondering if I could put my canvas up on a book or something. Let's start going. If it seems to be
Let's get some color on
Yeah.
there. Sometimes it's sketching. We'll see.
I'm just gonna put this really tall tree in here. It's about, I would say, about a third of the way across, and with the rule of thirds, that's going to look good if we have something coming up the third of the way across our paper. I'm just kind of sketching this in just so we have that kind of guidepost as we go along and paint. We'll have another shorter one over here, further down the road. Don't want to put too much in case I decide not to use it. I'm debating. I think I will put this telephone pole in over here because I think it just kind of helps with the perspective and the scale. I'll throw that in right there. And then we can we'll use our vanishing point again. We can have some phone lines coming in. So I'm putting my finger on that point so I know that I'm kind of aiming everything to that point. Let's get another phone pole over here. Should be about that high, because if I follow that line down, I know that should be about that high. And then we'll just let that kind of fade off to nothing. All right, so we've got some nice perspective here. I'm going to bring it up. Maybe that will help you see it a little bit right now, so you can just kind of get your bearings. And we're going to start off with our colors. We're going to use Gamboge. And I think I might use a different brush today to put my background in. This came in the Mimic Squirrel, which is a faux squirrel set from jerrysartorama.com. And this one came in the intro kit, and I thought, I hardly ever use that one. Let's use that one today. So I'm getting the Gamboge out of my palette. And I am going to get the Pyrrole red, which is a nice neutral red. If you don't have this, do Cad Red Deep or Naphthol Crimson. It's basically a very neutral red. Maybe if it's going to tip towards a color, it's going to tip more towards orange than pink. And we're going to use phthalo blue. If you don't have phthalo, you can use any intense green-based blue, such as a Prussian blue. If you have like peacock blue, or if you have a turquoise that's a really deep turquoise, not a pale turquoise like that, it's not going to give you the intensity of color we're going to need. All right, so we're going to start off, and you're going to need to make sure you have a paper towel handy. We'll start off with our lightest area, which is going to be over here. I am going to wet my background, so you want to wet everything that is in the sky. I would not wet over the house, so just kind of go over the tree and the sky. But I would go around the little peak that you drew into that little house or barn.
The picture is freezing up.
Oh, no.
Okay, it's catching up. There we go. Froze on my end.
Well, I was having some trouble yesterday. I was watching something on Netflix, and it kept freezing on me. So, gosh, I hope there's no issues.
Yeah, I will, because I think it's still in the process of switching over from Time Warner to whatever.
What?
It's not gonna be. It's like Time Warner, but somebody's buying them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Spectrum is what it's switching over to. So I've noticed a couple times, like there's been some.
Oh, that's a bummer, because I get like the premium packet, the premium.
I don't think it's gonna change anything. It's just like a name change.
I know, but if the quality is changing.
Well, I think it might be because they're busy swapping stuff over.
Maybe.
So even when you put the color on, it's still looking pretty blurry on this end. So you might need, I think it's the camera's too far away.
Okay, so would you mind grabbing some thick books from the bookshelf over there?
I'm going to charge you extra for that.
All right, I'll double your pay.
0, double to 0.
Heck, I'll give you 10 times your pay. I'm blotting out the sun, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of the Pyrrole Scarlet.
Here you go. See how that works.
This is on the fly, technical.
That's right. New setup, new setup.
All right. Sweet. I think I like it a little bit better. Maybe you have to go a little higher, but
we'll wait and see.
We'll see how this looks. Yeah, you can monitor from the. All right, a little more of that red over here. It's gonna fade. It's gonna be a little bit lighter when it blends in and dries. So keep that in mind.
Oh God, I'm tripping over my own feet.
Yeah, we got cords and everything. I wonder if I'm a little further away from the router too, because downstairs in the basement, I'd kind of be under it.
Oh, it could be a combo.
Who knows? Okay. These colors, this red isn't going to stain too badly, I don't think. The yellow is not staining, but when we get into the blue, it is a staining color, so you have to really watch how much color you put down. And I'm going to clean my brush and start the blue up in this corner. And I just want to make sure I don't go into that roof. We will have some of those colors on the snow there, but I don't want to get it there too early and not be able to lift it if I need to, because it is a staining color. And generally your more transparent, brighter colors tend to stain. Now I'm just cleaning my brush. I'm going to go in with clear water here. Basically, I want to take out some of the color because the sky is quite light in the center. Oh, I'm using a different paper today. Oh, no. Yes, I am. I'm using Saunders Waterford, which is something that people use a lot in the UK. I was looking for some rough paper, and I happen to have a big pile of that. So, so that's what I'm using. It does remind me quite a bit of an Arches or Fabriano Artistico. All right, so that is all set for our sky for the moment. And I want to get there's some kind of like fuzzy trees and mountains in the background, and the trees look almost turquoise. They are so bright. I'm going to switch. I think I'm going to go to this round, which is actually holding up quite well. I re-glued it last week, and so far so good. And since my sky is damp, I should get some nice blending. I still don't think I want to use a blue on its own just because it is so intense. I'm going to pick it up in some of that red. How's everything going in chat? How's it look on your end? Is it better?
It looks better. I think.
Should it still be up higher, do you think?
You might have to. I think we're going to have to drop the.
Can I get a couple more books maybe?
Drop the camera next week.
Yeah, we can do that.
Chewy, did you find all the crumbs? That's what happens when we all wake up from our turkey comas.
Oh, and Sister Wendy's is that's one of the best art history books ever. If you're ever looking for an art history book, Sister Wendy. She has a PBS. She used to do PBS.
Really?
Oh, she's fantastic. Pretty much everything I learned about art history is from Sister Wendy. They used to make me teach art history at the senior center. Mm-hmm. I was like, I didn't go to college. You realize I didn't go to college for art anyway. Oh boy. What were you saying about a turkey coma?
I said this is what happens when we all wake up from our turkey coma. Hilarity and off the cuff enjoyment ensues. Yeah, that looks a lot better if you look from.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yep. Okay, so we were just too far away. It's funny because I did focus it and white balance and everything before I started. But live and learn. And I'm not continuing this all the way across because I want to have some broken areas where I'll be able to put some fuzzy trees. So we're mixing from these three colors. We've done that before, so you kind of know what you're in for. We're going to make our brown. We're going to do. I find it easier to do a brown if you start by making orange. So if I take my yellow and I add the red to it, I'm going to get a nice orange. And then if I add blue to that. Well, that's a little too green, so I need more red because red is the opposite. You can keep working until you've balanced out your colors. There, we get a nice chocolatey brown color there. And that's going to be a good color to throw in just some nondescript shrubs and trees in the background. And it'll just give us a little bit of layers. The brown's a little warmer, so it'll push back that blue layer a little bit. I can even do a little bit in the sky, make like a taller tree in the distance, and it'll fuzz out and look fairly natural. Because everything, all the trees look just kind of like brown, lacy and brown this time of year. And when it snows, all the leaves are down. Okay, while that's drying, I don't think there's anything else I need to do fuzzy in the background at this point. I want to work on getting some snow colors. And let's start off with my blue, really watery. And I actually think I want a juicier brush. I'm going to go with my number 30 round. Use whatever big round you have. You don't have to go this big, but you know, you want something that's going to hold quite a bit of water. And I'm going to keep this dry, and I'm going to do this snowbank here. And basically I'm painting the shadow of the snowbank on the edge of the road. So I'm just going into that very watery phthalo blue and bringing it back towards that vanishing point that we talked about earlier.
Deborah Sullivan, I always go too far. How do you know when the painting is finished?
The best advice I can give is to step away and then come back to it later, because often when you come back later, they say hindsight's 20/20. When you come back later, you can really see how your painting looks. Just tapping over here. This is just going to be like a little snowbank that's kind of like up next to that building, little entrance into the building there, into the little, between those two little fences. A little bit of blue over here, and I can go over the fence posts because they're going to be silhouetted. So I'm just going to get a little bit of blue shadow in there. And this roof also needs a little blue on it. So we can go right in and throw that in there. I got a froggy throat. And to bring this away from the sky, we're actually going to be putting some trees behind this building, so don't worry about it kind of blending in with the sky at this point. It's not really going to make a big difference. Another little building next to it. I think I'll just leave that so I can put that little building next to it as well. So I'm just leaving up that little area. I'm just going to get some kind of tire tracks going in there towards a vanishing point. Even though we can't really see our point, it's still like right about there. So all of our lines are going to converge right in there whenever we have something linear that we're painting. Now I want to get some of that pinkish color, which is just watery pyrrole red. Lots of water on that. And that's going to appear in some of the snow as well. Kind of like water, it's going to reflect your sky colors.
Gracie Shack, what's your advice for newbie art teachers?
Well, your biggest job is to inspire your students. So I would say be encouraging and try to bring the best out of your students. It's not about showing off what you can do. It's about inspiring them and pulling and helping them reach their potential.
Rugal Vasayeti, how would you refill Windsor and Newton watercolor markers?
I have not attempted to refill mine yet because they haven't gone dry, but I think I would probably excuse me, take like gum arabic and water the watercolor way down with probably some distilled water and gum arabic, and then try to soak it up, or maybe to pull one of the ends off and use an eyedropper to put it in. I mean, they're disposable markers. So you don't really have anything to lose if it doesn't work out very well.
And how much of a pain in the rear it is. Sometimes, sometimes it's not worth
the aggravation.
You're better off spending a few extra dollars than the aggravation.
But there's no harm trying it if it's
Exactly.
if you're gonna throw it away anyway. So
you never know.
The thing is, you just want to make sure you're getting some good pigments in there so you can take advantage of the fact those markers are light fast. So so you want to put, if you're going to bother refilling them, you want to make sure you're filling them with something that's not going to fade. This mixture of the Pyrrole Red and Phthalo Blue is giving me a nice cool gray, like a purpley gray. And I'm using that in the road just to get the ruts and tire tracks and shadows. You tap it on for texture too. Get some dirt in the road, some of that brown you mixed. You'd usually get some dirt where they've sanded the roads.
Or in Maine, it's possibly just a dirt road.
That's true. Excuse me. Goodness, I've froggy today.
It's the weather. It was all rainy and cold and crappy for the last 5 days, and then got up today. It was like 50 and sunny for a while.
Who's in the house with us today?
Well, we got Valerie, Jen K, Dominique, Gracie Shack, but she's got to go. She's babysitting. She's got to order some food. Let's see. Go up. Ian is here.
Awesome. Did
I say Joe Maskey's here? Grace Blosser.
Oh, I got a present for Rich Bowden. Do you want to see it?
Yes. Eve's Bolt.
A splatter brush.
Ooh, he's going to like that.
Yeah, it's fancy.
And it's red.
It's red. It's fancy. It's from the Dollar Tree.
Betty Crocker.
I think it'll splatter a lot of things.
You can really, and you know, because it is the silicone.
Yeah.
Totally washable. You'll be able to use it for years to come.
Yep. Think of all the splattering. All right, let's see. Boy, this paper is pretty wet. I think I'm going to plug in my my heat tool and dry that a little bit.
Jen K wants to know if you're going to be using that today.
I don't think I need it today. I don't think it will enhance this, believe it or not. But I'm going to find something to splatter.
You know, we could just do splatter paintings one week.
We should do that. That would be fun. Put down some taps. I really should have plugged it. Oh, good. I think I'm plugging right here. Put down some taps. Draw with our Shappies.
No, I'm telling you.
Splattering.
This is splattering in Maine. Olivia W. I am thinking about buying the Mimic Swirl brushes. I'm not really a beginner, but I'm currently liking the Royal Elang-Nickel green handle synthetic brushes. Would Mimics be a good transition?
Let's see. The green handled ones, if I recall right, are for oil or watercolor, and they're natural hair, so they're very thirsty. The bristles were a little shorter on those. I have a set of the green handled ones, but I use them for oils. I got them decades ago. If it's the same one, I think that you would enjoy. I don't think you'd have any problem switching over. I think you would enjoy the performance of the Mimics better because they're a sharper brush. They come to a better point and they hold more liquid. So I don't think you'd have any problem. I think you'd really enjoy switching over.
College One Arts. Lindsay, did you see Rich's own splatter tool? I saw in his video and bought one.
Did it have like a cork on the end and you twist it? I think there's also a Tim Holtz new spatter one that's got like really long, like plasticky bristles.
Nona Lawton, how many different brushes would I need to get to start me off with watercoloring?
Not many. I would get like a number 8 round or a number 10 round and a that comes to a really nice point, and I would get like a 1-inch flat.
And Joe Maskey would love a Jackson Pollock day.
Awesome.
I'd even get on that. I can splatter with that.
Yeah, sure.
I have old toothbrushes at home I could bring
nice,
in.
Nice.
I use those for splattering.
Me too.
Not that I do a lot of splattering, but when I do, I've been known to use a toothbrush.
Oh, there's another tip. If you ever have a hard time getting your tape off your paper, you can heat it up. So I'm pressing my tape back down because the heat made it lift. So if you do ever get a situation, or you're trying to remove price tags from something you bought, Christmas shopping or whatever, then use your heat gun. It will take the tags right off. Okay, so now
just a side note, you can also do that on vehicles. Like if you buy a vehicle from somewhere and you want to take the dealer sticker off, you can I use my heat gun to take it off and like a rubber scraper.
Oh, good idea.
Just a note.
Good
totally
idea.
Not art worthy, but art
it's all related. Art is related with everything.
I wanted to take the sticker off the back of my Jeep where I bought it. So I took my little heat gun that I use for embossing and came right off.
No free advertising for them.
That's right. Katrina Knoll, what colored pencils are your favorite?
I'm in a minority here. I really like the Derwent Color Soft, but it's because I like to sketch fast, and I like to lay down a lot of color, and I like soft opaque leads because I like to work on colored paper. So it would depend on what you wanted to work on too. Like I know I have the polychromos and I like them, but they're more transparent, so they don't work as well, and they're oil based. They don't work as well on colored paper, I don't find, but most colored pencil artists that just do colored pencil prefer those, or they prefer the Caran d'Ache. Personally though, I like the Color Soft, and I've seen them very reasonably priced. I think the set of 72 is like $68 at Jerry's right now, and I paid more for my set of 72 when I bought them, so they're on a really good special. That's me. Some people like a harder pencil, like the Soho pencils are really hard, and so are like the Tombow or Rogetin pencils. I don't like my pencils to be quite as hard. It's personal preference, but personally I like Derwent Color Soft. I am going to go in and start painting these fence posts because that's the darkest part of my picture, and I want to get that kind of out of the way so I can establish my values. And even though there's not a lot of snow on my fence posts, I think I am going to leave little sparkles to show like snow on like the edges of like the posts or the cross beams or whatnot, just because I think it is kind of pretty.
Pollage One Art. Lindsay was round wood segment with bottle brush and nail to spatter with.
Oh yeah, I have something like that. I haven't used it yet, but it was by Royal Nickel or Lowell Cornell, one or the other. Haven't used it yet though. But isn't that cute? He got a spatter brush.
For all of his complaining, negativity about spattering. Serena Silvercrest, do you remember the very first time you painted an animal in watercolor?
Watercolor.
You don't really do animals, do you?
I don't do animals too much. I did a deer last week.
Maybe that's why she was asking.
I remember painting my dog when I was about 7. That's probably my earliest.
Gold 004, what is the most economical way to try out the fancy watercolor papers such as Arches and Fabriano?
I would say see if you can find see if you can find a not bulk pack, a sampler pack. I know Strathmore has released them before. I would just Google Arches sampler pack and see if you can get one. That way you could get probably like a quarter sheet of the different kind of flavors, if you will, and then you can decide what kind you like the best. It depends for me, like what I'm painting. Sometimes I want a rough paper, like today I like a rough paper with landscapes. Sometimes I want a smoother paper because I want to be able to get more detail. It just depends on what I'm painting. That's a great way to go about it. Or get small blocks or small pads, like a 6x9. That's probably one of the smaller sizes. Sometimes you can get postcards, but it's nice to have a bigger piece because you can always cut down a larger piece and you have more room to work rather than feeling like you have to be kind of conserving and stingy with a tiny piece.
Daliala, are there any real hair brushes you would recommend to someone who has only used synthetic?
I'm really not recommending the natural hair brushes because for watercolor, the sables, it's not a very kind industry. I would say if you have them, by all means use them, but nowadays the faux sables are so good that it makes no sense to, in my opinion, makes no sense to harm an animal or go through that expense when there are so many good synthetics like these mimic brushes or Princeton Neptunes or even Royal and Langnickel Zen brushes that are found at a lot of the big box stores. I mean, they do such a nice job, and you don't have that on the animals on your conscience and in the pocketbook. I mean, it's such a small fraction of a price. Like this brush in a sable would probably be $75 and get it for a few dollars. So there's none of them I would really recommend, just because I think that you can get as good quality. You do what you want to do. I'm not judging you, but I just
your personal preference.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I mean, and just on us, when you can get that quality too and not have to spend, I mean, like this brush here, this would be a couple $100 if it was a Kolinsky sable. And yeah, and I just dropped it on the floor, so obviously I can't have nice things.
And now you have dog hair on it because it did hit Chewy, so it is kind of like a natural hair brush now.
It's a natural dog.
Just buy a dog, roll your brushes in the dog. It'll pick up some hair, and then it's a natural hair bristle brush.
There you go. Cruelty free. The dog slobber on it a little bit too.
And if the dog needs to be brushed, it's a great way to do it. Judith A. Rowland, I have several artist quality sets, but bought a koi student set, and I'm finding that precious is my problem. Are they light fast?
That I don't know. Because I don't know the pigments. If I knew the pigments in them, it'd be easy to kind of guess how light fast they would be. I, by the way, just added a little red and yellow to this same mix to warm it up and make it a little more brown. Because I have to say though, I have used my koi set a lot for like just doing small sketches, and I put my like greeting cards. This is another reason I sell my greeting cards for $7, because I might be using my student grade paints, and I might not, if they're the Primas or the kois. I don't know honestly how light fast they are. I mean, Prima did come out with a chart, but since it doesn't have pigment numbers, I'm very skeptical about believing it. So that's one of the reasons I don't charge very much for my little postcards or watercolor cards. But to tell you the truth, I haven't noticed any fading with them in the shop, and it's a very well sunlit area. So I probably wouldn't, if you make something that you really love, I just wouldn't, tape it to your fridge in direct sunlight. I would, put it in a mat behind glass. So I don't know how light fast it is, but I wouldn't worry about it tons. If you're doing like maybe something with purple or the bright, almost neon looking colors, they're going to be the ones that'll tend to fade. But if you're using earthy tones, they're usually fairly stable no matter who you're getting them from.
Olivia W., you said the green handle Royal and Langnickel brushes are natural hair. I thought they were synthetic Taclon.
Well, maybe we're thinking about different ones. There was some with an acrylic handle that came out a few years ago in a value set that had natural hair in them. But maybe there's another set. That's just the one I was thinking of. There could have been another set. If they're a Taclon, then the mimics are going to be softer and more absorbent. But if you have, I think if you're intermediate painter, you'll have no problem. Before I go in and paint around this, I want to soften this. So I've just got I think I'm going to need a stiffer brush. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can reach over here and get a stiffer brush. I want to soften the edges of that, because I won't be able to do it once I start painting branches in front of it. Hopefully I can soften it up a little bit. I don't think my brush is very clean though. That's not a good idea. Oh, maybe that gamboge doesn't lift as well as I thought it did. That's all right. I just want to soften it up a little bit. There's nothing that says like if you do upgrade to the mimic brush from a Royal and Lang Nickel Taklon brush, there's no reason you can't swap back and forth and both in one painting. It's not like you upgrade and you get rid of everything else you have. Use it with it, especially until you learn to control the extra water that it's going to hold. Okay.
Judith A. Rowland, have you any information on the Senlier La Petite?
Actually,
I'm getting some next week, and they seem like fun.
I just ordered those on Jerry's, actually, because, well, I had this embarrassingly big cart at Jerry's. And I said, okay, Lindsay, this is crazy. It was sitting in my car like all of Black Friday weekend. I'm like, this is insane. You need to remove some things. So what do you really want? And the things that made the cut was one of the sets of the Selenier Le Petit Aquarelle watercolors, the set of 24. I did keep that. So I will be reviewing that. And I'll do a little demo with it. And the other thing that I kept was these pearlescent Mungio water-soluble oil pastels that looked so much fun. They kind of looked like the Prima oil pastels, but they're pearlescent. So, yeah, I'll have tutorials on both of those. Oh my gosh, I had so much in that cart. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Baru Siva, Lindsay, have you done an underwater scene in watercolor? Is it difficult to achieve? I
have done, I did a beta fish, and I'm trying to think if I've done anything else. That's just like a dull orange. Again, the three colors, mostly red and yellow, a little bit of blue, make that dull color. I'm going to make a little bit darker. Three colors again, just a little bit more intense, making a nice darker brown to drop in there. I'm a little out of my element because I have a credit card scraper. I haven't filmed up here since last spring or before the weather warmed up. Scraping in some branches in there, and it's dry over here, so I want to go in and add some big trees back here too.
Lady Date, hello Lindsay. We know your thoughts on Reeves watercolors. Would you ever consider doing a tutorial with them?
If I still have some, I would. I mean, they're not a bad paint. They're just, you know, they're student grade paint. I used it a lot when I was teaching kids. I'll switch to this brush. You can use a liner. I'm just using this dagger because it'll give me kind of a random branches and shapes, so I won't fuss around too much. I can twist my brush and get like double lines and just get something that looks a little bit more natural. Chicken scratchy kind of. See how I can kind of just let the brush dry and it will spread apart a little bit.
Serena Silvercrest, Lindsay, have you ever been in a watercolor competition? If so, how was it?
Never have. I don't.
She's YouTube royalty. She doesn't do watercolor competitions.
Well, it's so subjective, yeah. And I don't want to feel like I don't want to put my worth in somebody else's hands, I guess. It's hard enough selling your work and putting a price on your work and, you know, feeling rejected if someone doesn't deem it worthy. But it's a whole other level of rejection to, you know, people judge your work that
someone's just in a bad mood that day, or their ex-spouse, person, whoever painted landscapes, and you paint a landscape.
Yeah,
it could be all over.
Yeah, who knows?
Deborah Sullivan, I've heard bad things about New Gamboge, that it will end up turning brown. Would you disagree?
I would disagree. That's more Old Gamboge.
Old Gamboge.
New Gamboge has been reformulated to not do those nasty things. You can always see the permanency too on your tubes of paint, or you can look up the pigment and research it that way, because there could be different formulas between manufacturers to get that warm yellow color. But Old Gamboge was quite fugitive, and I mean they've changed formulas for New Gamboge just because some pigments have become scarce and unavailable. So they've had to go with a different formulation from some companies. I have a single pigment color. There's old gamboge, there's old new gamboge, and then there's new gamboge.
There's 3 levels of gamboge.
Yeah, it's a real old one you want to stay away from. The only problem I have with a color that's recently, and it's not even that recent of a color, it's a fairly older tube that I had, Windsor Newton Cerulean. I did find that went a little brown after a while, but that is that's something that has been known about that color. I don't know how I happen to have it. It was like a tube from the 70s, so I don't even know how I happen to have it in my stash. I was thinking I bought it, but I can't imagine that stock would have stayed around in somebody's store. It must have been given to me or something.
Brenda Collins Deeks, I have some paper that's as still, I think she might have meant stiff. Stiff as cardboard and really rough on both sides. Someone gave it to me. I think it's watercolor paper. What do you think I should use it for? It's
probably 300-pound rough arches, or could be Fabriano, could be Windsor and Newton. They had a beautiful artist paper. I don't know if their paper is still the quality used to be, but they used to 100% cotton 300-pound paper that was really lovely. Yeah, I would maybe cut off a little piece of it and play with it and see what you think. And if it's performing well as watercolor paper, I would use it as a watercolor paper. I am going to get this dark side of the fence right here while I'm at it. I think I'll just use this flat brush. Somebody recently asked me about the Princeton brushes because they have a lot of different brushes. They have the Neptunes, which are really soft. They're like the Mimics. They hold a lot of paint. They're a little bit less springy than the Mimics, but they're a beautiful brush. And somebody was asking me about their Snap and Value brushes, and I have to say that I have never found a Princeton brush that was bad. And the Snap and their value packs are very well priced, so I would not hesitate to try them, especially if you're on a budget. And because they'll have like a pack for $5. It's got like a 1-inch flat and a number 8 round and a smaller one. You really can't beat it. And I've never seen a problem with the quality of any of their brushes.
Jill Whitaker, hi Lindsay, can I sell my painting after following your tutorial?
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I would just double check. Sometimes I use like this photos from Graphic Stock, where I'm a subscriber. Beautiful reference photos. I think if you follow my tutorial, you should be fine, since I am a subscriber. But I might check with my contact over there and just double check on that one. But if it's from if I use the photo from Paint My Photo, absolutely, because they've given permission and I'm giving permission. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I would just maybe I'll just double check with the folks at Graphic Stock if the fact that I've taught it and I'm a subscriber, if that's enough to protect you.
I would think so, because you're also not reproducing the photo exactly. Like, you're not making copies of the picture and selling it as you're printing off, because you're printing off an image and you're doing a painting of it. But I don't know if that would make a difference.
Yeah, you could always subscribe to it yourself, and then you'd have the access to all of those photos. If I don't know if that's in your budget or not, but it is a great service. Getting this little fence in here. I like using Graphic Stock photos because I can like pick up the photo and show it to you if I need to. And with Paint My Photo, I would have to go and ask every photographer individually, and sometimes I'm kind of like at the last minute, which isn't your fault, it's my fault, but sometimes I'm kind of at the last minute deciding what I want to do or pulling together what I want to do, because the Fridays are kind of my treat. It's like if I've done all my work, then I can do a Friday live show, So I'm kind of, a lot of times it's kind of planned a little bit last minute.
A Wild Carrot appeared. I recently got a size 8 round Princeton Neptune brush. I love it and I want to get another one. What brush should I get in terms of size, shape, etc.?
Well, there's a couple brushes I really like. Oh, I have them right here. I like their oval wash. Let me wet it so you can kind of see, because it does come to a fairly good point. That's their oval wash. I just don't want to drip it on my my paper. That is a 3/4 inch. That might be a little big for I would probably go with a 1/2 inch for a more versatile brush. And I also like their they're dagger stripers. This is a 1/4 inch. You can do 1/4 inch or 3/8. Very useful size, but I like it for doing random trees. I'll do another one over here just to kind of show you. I like it because I can't fuss and over control it. I'm going to just kind of be at its mercy a little bit while I'm using it. And I like that because it just helps me get a really natural look. So if I go over here, I'm going to put we'll put this little tree here, kind of coming out of the snow. There's the base of it. So I can kind of press and I can get a nice thick branch, but I can lift up and I can get little scraggly ones. There's an artist, Liz Steele. I think she's Australian, either Australian or British. Her accent sounds very Australian to me. But anyway, Liz Steele, you can go to her website or follow her on Instagram. She uses daggers a lot, and she will do like these cute little teacup paintings. She's an urban sketcher. And I mean, she gets so much versatility out of that brush. I would highly recommend checking her out before you decide, because I think it's a very useful brush. I don't use it to its full potential like she does. She'll like just go out painting and just take that brush. So that it's just, if you don't have a brush like that, if you don't need a super like, it's not the most useful brush in the world, but if you don't have one and you have a lot of other brushes, it's definitely great to add to your collection. Some skinnier trees back there.
Dion C, does Lindsay have photos on Paint My Photos?
I don't have photographs. I'm not a very good photographer, so I don't have any photos. Sometimes I'll share photos on my blog. I feel like for a photo to Paint My Photo, it needs to be really good, and my photos are not. They're not good enough, I don't think, to upload to Paint My Photo personally. But some of the photographers that are there are just unreal talented. So if I have a photo to share, I'll put it on my blog, but I don't know. I don't want to waste their space on Paint My Photo with my crappy photos. I have a few artwork photos, but I had a hard time uploading since they moved to their new system. So I unfortunately haven't uploaded much of my finished paintings. Darken this guy up a little bit. It's kind of fading. Mixing up some more of this dark again. We're going to start. I like to start with the strong colors, the red and the blue, get those balanced, then add some yellow. And if your paints are good and dry and you're well, you don't really have to rinse your brush off in between. It's a good habit for kids to get into, so they don't, completely contaminate everything. But I find that as long as they're hard and dried in their wells, then I can just wipe off that level of ick when I'm all done. Since we have kind of a sunset going on, the sun is low, we're going to have a lot of silhouetting, and I think a silhouette is a great type of painting for beginners because it's very forgiving. Any questions popping up as we go?
Oh, no, actually, some of us are talking about dogs right now. I was saying that this is one of the few places Chew is allowed on the furniture. She's not allowed on the furniture house.
Is she on the couch now?
She was in one of the chairs, and now she's moved to the floor.
Aww, she was in one of those chairs over there?
Yeah.
Oh, Hazel used to do that. She used to hop up in those chairs.
Yeah.
So cats would steal her bed, and so she would hop up in one of those chairs.
Catherine Biddle Dutton, she's asking about who you just recommended. What was the name again?
Liz, L-I-Z, Steele, S-T-E-E-L-E. I think her website's just lizsteele.com. She has some books and some online classes, and she's an urban sketcher.
Olivia W. I bought a couple of Turner paints and put them in a new palette a couple of weeks ago, and as they dried, only the ultramarine cracked. It's not hard like a student grade would be, but I'm confused.
I would just spritz it and use it. I don't think it's good. It's not going to hurt anything. Sometimes, like your paints, the big thing with their cracking, if they're falling out, because then you could end up wasting them. So the shards will get all mixed up. You can add a little smidgen of honey or glycerin to it. I use mine once a week, this palette once a week, at least once a week, so I haven't had any problems with them cracking, but it shouldn't hurt anything. You could just have it drier air than we do. Did she need help fixing it, or?
That's all I think that's what she was looking for, was what it meant. And
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, different manufacturers will have different levels of like glycerin or honey in their paints. I mean, some like you have to be careful because they never seem to really dry. And you have to, like, I find, and probably because we have a more humid environment here usually, I find that my M grams, once I pour it, I have to leave them like uncovered for quite a while to let them dry out enough that I can transport them. And I usually don't use them in my portable palettes for that reason. And then other paints will dry right up really easy. Like I found the Daniel Smith to dry up really easily. Their own unique characteristics. You could use a liner or that striper for this, but I just feel a little more like I have a little more control with my number 8 round. It's up to you, whatever you like to use for a nice fine line. And I'm using my brush straight up and down, so it probably looks like I'm going to poke you in the eyeball with the end of my paintbrush, but I do that so that I can just get a razor sharp line there.
Paul Adams, what does the series number mean on watercolor tubes?
How much it costs and how expensive the pigments are. So a series 1 color might be $3 or $5 a tube. A series 2 would be $7. Well, not, I mean, this is a generalization. And like a series 5 could be like $20 or $30 a tube. It just depends on how rare the materials are. And we're getting some nice perspective with those power lines there. Okay. I want to add another layer of kind of like some background shrubs down there. I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a little bit more red and yellow kind of on the edge of my brown mix there, just so I can have a warmer, brighter mix. I'm just going to keep pulling brown in until I like the shade that I have. I'm going for kind of like a warm rust color. Don't want it too intense, so I'm adding a little more water to it. And I'm just going to kind of go in and tap in some brush, kind of like shrub. And I think I want to get a little bit of that color into these trees over here. They're just kind of, I don't know if they're glowing because of the sun or they're glowing because they still have some oak leaves hanging on like oak leaves want to do. That's why it's really important if you ever get the opportunity to go out and paint in life, because then you can actually get close to something and see, is that a leaf? Is that just reflection? When you're going off somebody's photograph, and especially I noticed, I think some of the photos are sweetened a little bit on graphic stock because they're meant to be beautiful photos, you know, for you to just use them as is on your websites and whatnot. So some I think have some kind of prettiness added to them that might not be there in real life. So when you do paint from real life, you can kind of get up close to something and see what you're really seeing, you know, and you can decide whether you want to make it prettier or just leave it as is. Like this could have been a flare or a filter or something, you know, added to it. You do a lot of photography, don't you, Sarah?
Well, I haven't really touched in a while, but yeah, you can definitely add some effects. They probably they may have saturated the colors a little bit just to bring out some of the yellows and oranges in the sunset. Or they may actually have to have had to down because their sun is pointing at the lens.
Yeah, that's true.
But it depends on what their white balance was set at, too, when they took the picture. Ian Jackson has a comment. Did you know that Derwent have redone their drawing graphite pencils?
No, I didn't know that.
Redone them? How?
Yeah, but Derwent started following me on Twitter, so I was pretty excited.
Ooh, that is exciting. Serena Silvercrest. Lindsay, what was the biggest watercolor painting you have ever done?
22 by 30. I used to work in that size quite a bit before I had kids. But I found that since I had kids, I work smaller so I could finish things. And, you know, so I don't lose train of thought and if I get interrupted, it's easier to kind of jump back into a smaller painting.
Amy Livingston, I saw some Gonzai Tambi sets on sale. What do you think of the paint quality? As a beginner, how many colors do I need? 12, 24, or 36?
I have the 24 set, and it's very it's very nice. I like to use it a lot for mixed media because it's a little more opaque, and I can layer, like, it's almost got like this shellac to it. It's different from your traditional Western watercolor. And I think as long as you go into it knowing that, then you're not going to be comparing it and thinking, well, this isn't acting the way it should be. I like it a lot for stenciling. I have the 24 set, and that's lots of colors. Not that I would be opposed to the 36 set, but I think the 36 set has like metallics. So it depends on whether you want that or not. But they're nice. They're unique. They have their own kind of feel to it. I am going in with the blue, a little bit of red in it to cool it down, and I'm going to put put a shadow from this tree across the road. So we've got this coming down, kind of coming down over the snowbanks there. A little dark. Might add a little more water to that. And down here, and it is going to go up the snowbank. I actually was thinking this was like a little. And this is the thing about painting real life compared to looking at a photo. I was thinking there was like a little break in the snowbank, but actually I think it's a shadow from that tree. Your light's over here, so it's going to cast this nice long shadow. And I think anything that you have close enough to the road is going to also put a little bit of a shadow.
Marion Pittman, would you give a basic explanation of warm versus cool colors? Sorry if this question is too basic, but Lindsay explains everything so clearly. I'd really like to hear it from her.
Oh, it's not too basic because there's two meanings. Warm, when you're thinking warm, when you first say warm and cool color without any context, would basically mean that red and yellow and orange are warm colors, and blue and green and sometimes purple are cool colors. But if you're thinking on terms of watercolor painting and a split primary palette, you have warm and cool versions of all colors. So if we take a look at my palette here, I think I have it pretty much arranged like that. So if I'm talking about a cool red, I'm talking about these reds here that would make a better purple if I was to mix it with a blue. When I'm talking warm reds, I'm talking like this one right here. See how it already looks almost orange? That's warmer. This yellow is much warmer. It's much closer to orange than this yellow, which is cooler and closer to green. So these yellows are a little cooler. Even within greens, sap green's a warmer green. Viridian or phthalo green is a cooler green. It's closer to a cooler color, like blue. So over here, these like an ultramarine blue is closer to purple, which is a warmer color because it's closer to red, so that's a warm blue. And like a phthalo blue or a turquoise, that's closer to green, and it's a cooler blue. Even though yellow is a warm color too, it's the blue is a little tricky, but you basically look at the undertones and see what it's closer to, what color neighbor does it relate to. So like alizarin crimson is a cool red, and cadmium red is a warm red. So crimson will make a better purple, and cadmium would make a better orange because of how it, like what its neighbor is on the color wheel. Does that make sense?
I thought it did.
Okay, cool. And basically mixing color, I'm just pulling some shadows off of these trees too. Mixing colors is what's going to help you learn that more than anything, more than any color theory explanation. Just sit down with your palette and have a good mix. And if you're afraid of wasting your precious paint, get some cheap student grade paints and practice with those.
Or even crayons. I mean,
yeah, you can scribble crayons and tell. Crayola watercolors Prang watercolors are actually better, and they're very inexpensive, and you could learn a lot with those.
Because they have, I mean, you know, if you don't want to waste your paint, you know, just some crayons, because you can swatch out crayons and, you know.
That's true. That's true.
Everything I learned about color was from crayons. K Burns. Hi, Lindsay. Do you know if there are tubes of the Gonzai Tambi for filling existing wells?
No, but you can buy the individual pans. Those, and I like the size of those pans because they're really big. I'm gonna just refill mine with the tubes that I have, but those pans are like that big. So if you have a big brush, you can get it right in there. So I'm saving all my pans when they go empty. I've only almost emptied a few of them. I used them in my craftsy class last year. They were really good for mixed media, and they weren't so precious that I was afraid that if something happened, and they didn't get back to me, that I would be heartbroken.
What palette are you using, and where did you get it?
This is Zoltan Szabo palette. You can find that at Jerry's Artorama, or you might even find it in a big box art store. And I have the Turner paints in there. And I did make an addition to my Turner palette. Somebody asked me about this. I did add a quinacridone rose to it because the Mayan red that comes in the 18 set, I'll swatch it out. It's just not very potent. Let me just put it on the back of something here. You know, it's just a very soft red, and I didn't like that red so much, so I did add a quinacridone rose to it just to make it a little more versatile.
And you have that linked in the video description.
I don't know if I have the palette linked in the video description, but just search. I think I have it in my teacher list on Jerry's, but if you just search Zoltan Szabo, you'll see it. I think it's under 20, I believe. I forgot to paint the peak of this building in here. And I want to get the ridge line there. And I remember I left room for this other little building. So I'm just going to sketch that in.
Judith A. Rowland, someone just said the Gonzai are for rice paper. Have you used it, and how does it work?
Yeah, you can use it on the rice, but you can actually use it on whatever you want because of the like the shellac or whatever it is in there that kind of makes it a little shiny. It is a little thicker, and it doesn't soak into your paper as much as like a regular watercolor paper. So if you have watercolor paper that's not as good of quality, they will work a lot better on it than like a traditional Eastern watercolor. So if you're using it in an art journal or for mixed media or in a sketchbook, it almost behaves like a gouache, except it's got a sheen to it, and gouache is generally matte. And most Eastern watercolors, because they're meant for painting on rice paper, will have those same characteristics. But you can use it on regular watercolor paper. It's not a problem to use it on regular watercolor paper, except you might just get a shiny spot here and there. But unless you've applied it really thickly, that's probably not going to happen. I'm adding a little bit of the Pyrrole Red just into the edge of my little brown mix over here, so it's still pretty bold. And I'm going to put in a few brighter bushes. I think this is an early snowfall. We still have a little bit of red on the trees. We've had a few of those, like crazy early snowfalls before the...
Yeah. Well, we got last week up north in Aroostook County, they said there are places that got almost 2 feet of snow.
Oh, wow.
It's like they can have it.
Yeah, really. We would have, though, with all that rain that we got, if that had been
snow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got new tires on the vehicle, so I'm good to go this winter. Have you put new vehicles on your tires on your vehicle?
No, I haven't. And I've got a pesky little check maintenance. I got to talk to your husband about my. I think the light only came on because my oil change went to a new oil change guy, and I don't think they reset because I went early, so I don't think they reset my oil change thing. But it's making me a little nervous. I'm adding some of them. I'm trying to capture this bright, like glow, like reflection of the sun in the tree branches here. I don't know if it's working or not, though.
Stephanie Mueller, would the fence have a shadow?
You can't see it because it's, oh yeah, this would actually have a little bit of, well, you know what? I don't think it's tall enough. I think it's getting caught behind the snowbank because the snowbank is up a little bit. So I don't think, it isn't in the photo. It's only the tree in the photo. So I think the snowbank's up a little too high to catch that fence. And these fences over here, the shadow will be on the other side of it. If there wasn't a snowbank here, then yes. I think I need to probably enhance the snowbank a little bit then. I don't think I like what I'm doing with this orange.
Brenda Collins Deeks. Lindsay, I used your supply list from an earlier video to make up my own 10-pan palette, but I have one spot left. Should I fill it with yellow ochre, raw umber, or some other color?
Oh, if you don't have yellow ochre, I would go with yellow ochre. That's a color you're not going to regret, I don't think. All right, I'm going to do, almost mix a little bit of green. I'm going to take the phthalo.
Valerie agrees with you. Valerie Connell also said yellow ochre.
Yellow ochre. I was going to say, you agrees with that, or you agrees with me that I'm messing up the sky?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that part. Oh, Julie, what are you doing?
She's snorting over there.
Yeah.
Adding a little bit of the gamboge into my phthalo. Not too much. I don't want it really green, but I feel like I do need something. And the photo looks kind of green here, and I like the way it looks. So I am adding that into my snowbank area. And I think I want a little bit on this roof here. I'm not going right to the edge of that snow area because I want it to feel a little more round. And I think for this roof there, I'm going to do a little bit of the reddish, very, very, very washy. A little red in there. Just put a drop of color and then just spread it out with your damp brush. And I think to enhance my snowbank, I need to warm up some of the tops a little bit. I'm going to do the yellow with a little bit of the red in it. I think I need a little more red. I guess I just want to make sure I don't end up getting the whole thing too green. Let's see. That's really bright. That pyrrole red is really strong, so you do want to be careful of it. Don't want it to look like there was some sort of horror movie scene in your snowbank. Roadkill.
Put a little bit of a different spin on it.
Yeah. That's a Stephen King Snowy Road. It's the Snowy Road from Misery.
Yeah, it is. That's where the lady from Misery lives.
I'm your biggest fan.
I just reread that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Jackie Watson, how should I know how strong to paint the watercolors?
Well, different paintings are going to call for different strengths. Like when you're painting snow, you have to be really careful not to overdo it because you're painting something white and you're painting how the light reacts to that. So there's a lot of like adding water and blotting off and keeping it really, really light. But if you're painting something that's really bold, then you need to go in stronger with your color. So each painting is going to demand a different level of saturation and color. Just practice and experience.
Bonnie Hosfeld is asking if you could show the photo that you're painting from.
And I do have this on my blog, and it's linked in the video description. I just have it taped in front of me on the front of my computer. I try not to click any buttons when I retape it.
Serena Silvercrest, is there, Lindsay, is there a watercolor you don't use because it's too precious?
Not really, because it goes so far that I wouldn't not use it. I mean, maybe if I had just if it was like a color I couldn't get anymore. I do have some colors that you just can't buy anymore. And those I just might conserve, but no, there isn't. I save some brands for certain applications because, they're more expensive. I'm not going to practice with them, but generally, no. Watercolors last so long. They're not going to go bad, but they're also, it doesn't take much to do a painting. All right, I got to look at this. A little bit of a distance here. All right, I need some more detail up in the trees, and I feel like those lines are all the same, so I need to go with a different brush. I'm going to go with my liner, which is a round brush with lots of long skinny bristles. And going back in with my dark, and I'm actually I think I'm gonna make that a little purplier with more red and blue, because I am seeing some cooler shadows. Just like I saw the warmer ones, I am seeing some cooler ones that are a little bit purplier. I'm also noticing these branches are dragging down. So I think that's maybe where I'm having trouble with this tree. I need to drag these branches down. I think that might be a willow tree.
I think you're right. I think it looks like a type of willow.
So I think I want to really get that shape in there, because it's kind of unique and interesting.
I think willow trees are one of my favorites.
I love them too. I don't have any though.
I don't either, but we're going to be chopping down a bunch of pine trees within the next year or so. So once those disgusting, sappy, they're the sappy, drippy ones that shed needles all over the place and ruin your yard. Pine trees, they're getting cut down. And we're going to burn them in the fire.
Oh, bonfire.
Yes. My hope is to put a willow tree in one of the spots.
No, I've heard they're kind of messy though.
I think you can get ones that are less messy. And it's not that they're messy, but pine needles are so acidic that once they fall, like when they get into the ground, it just kind of ruins the dirt for anything. Like you can't really plant anything.
Grow, what are those flowers that change color? Hydrangeas?
Yeah, you could do hydrangeas or like blueberry bushes, but they're also out back. So I live in Maine. I'm surrounded by pine trees.
Well, it is the pine tree state, you know.
It is the pine tree
state. It's our state.
I don't need them shedding needles in my yard.
Yeah, we got a big pine tree in our front yard too.
Olivia W, do you stand when you paint? I never have, just hunched at my desk or use a makeshift easel, but I see many watercolors standing and painting. Is there a benefit?
I do sometimes. The benefit that I notice is that I could see my whole picture a lot better. Right now I'm sitting because of I'm up in my office, but a lot of times I do stand, or I'll sit really high and have the desk quite low so that I can look down. But I mean, not really. I mean, you could always even tip your board up at a little bit of an angle if you needed to, like that or something. I think it's just a lot of people do it just so they can see their whole board. That's probably a little healthier too. I mean, I've heard that sitting is the new smoking.
It is the new smoking.
So, you know, there's that.
Well, that's all right. And next couple of years, something else will be the new sitting. Yeah. So. Lie by, several of my brushes don't go to a point anymore. When are brushes worn out? Well,
sometimes I noticed that with like synthetics, like a number 6 round or something like that, especially in the synthetic, will go a little blunt. At that point, you probably want to get something with a better point, but I wouldn't throw away the other brush, because you can always use that for texture or scrubbing, or you would even use it with acrylics or something if you're, you want to, or, use it with oils or something that doesn't require such a precise shape. Use it for some like tasks that you don't really need a bright pointy brush, or give it to the kids or something. But yeah, if it was a pointy brush and starting to kind of just be round at the end instead of sharp, then get another one to replace the pointy one. But I still would keep that for as long as it's not like shedding or anything, which it shouldn't be if it's been lasting you that long. I'm just doing little scribbles in here. I feel like I need this kind of laciness that I'm not getting. It just feels a little too sparse. And I'm going to mix up a brighter brown, red, yellow, just a smidgen of blue, or a smidgen of my already brown that I have made. To tone it down, and we're going to throw in a few little branches, grasses kind of poking through here around the fence. And then I think that's going to be done. Put little tufts on the top of some of these because they look kind of like little wheats or something. And put a couple like I want something over here. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to one of these brushes because the Mimic Kalinskis have more of a rounded point than a sharp point. So I think I'll use those for some texture. I feel like I just need something in the
Joy, hey,
snowbank.
Get out of whatever you're in.
Some little texturing marks that I want the snow to be a little bit rougher.
Super Mega Lark. When is it appropriate to use white in watercolors?
I think whenever it's up to you if you want to use white and when you want to use it. I would say you can either go on with a plan like I'm going to use white in this because this is the look I want to achieve, or you could kind of wait and see how it goes. And if you feel like you've kind of lost your whites and you just need it to save the painting, or if it's going to improve the painting, I would say do it. There's no art police. I mean, if you're doing a competition, then you maybe just, you might not be able to enter it. But if it's just like for the sake of the art and it's going to improve it, then I would use it. It's completely up to you. I used to be kind of more, purist about that, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you do what's right for your art, and that's why there's mixed media, because you don't have to choose. You can do what you want to do. I want to have there's like a little shrub growing over the fence here, and I kind of like the way that looks, so I'm just throwing some of the thicker branches in with this faux Kolinsky, and then I'm going to go in with a smaller, sharper brush. A little shadow into that peak while I'm at it too. And if you have any questions, go ahead and get them in, because I think we're just about done this. Ooh. And then we'll be done. We will be starting our weekend, I should say.
Yay! Nothing. It makes much difference. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
I gotta get some Christmas shopping done. Oh my goodness.
Yes, you do.
Holy
I wrapped the gifts that I have. They're not like bowed or ribboned, but I got them wrapped and labeled. I'm excited.
Aren't you special? I never wrapped what I bought, but I've only bought like 4 things.
Hey,
so it's not that big
okay.
of a,
That's okay. You've got it started.
Oh yeah, I need ideas, man. Oh man. Oh, I like that little popper red in there. I think that helps.
Put a squirrel crossing the road in there. I'm just kidding.
Squirrel, yeah. I don't know if I can pop that off just off the top of my head or not. All right. Well, there. You know what? I kind of feel like I want some spatter.
You do have that new brush.
Yes, but I feel like I want controlled spatter. You know what? I've got this stiff fabric brush over here. I'm gonna see if I can spatter some like snow color in there. Let me see. Oh yeah. So I feel like my road was just too I don't know, too smooth or something. Maybe I will get out the big brush though, because I'm curious about it. I haven't used it though. It's probably not time to break it out, but I'm not too. This painting is not precious. I'm not worried about the painting, so I think I will grab that spatter brush. See if I can get some big spatters on there. Let's see. Let's try this. I don't know if it's juicy enough though. I don't know. I think I might need more. Oh, like that. I could just kind of flick it. Oh, that's good. I like that. I'm getting on my brand new sweater though.
You need an ape. Never mind. You don't need a thing. You're all set.
Your face is just. We need a face cam.
No, we don't. That's why I like doing this. My face is not on camera.
I got some spatters in the sky. You know what? I think I'm gonna turn those into a flock of birds flying south. Why don't we do that?
I'm gonna Bob Ross it.
I'm gonna Bob Ross this.
Some happy little birds.
We're gonna have some happy little birds happening here.
Happy little birds.
Yes. Let me use this brush. This is a number 4 round. That's what it needed. I was thinking, what does this need? It needs something. It needed happy little birds.
It needs some happy little birds. A friend of mine dressed up as Bob Ross for Halloween.
Oh, yeah?
It was pretty great because he has a beard anyway, so we got like some hair.
Yeah.
And he had like a fake palette, you know, like a wooden palette like Bob did, and brush. It was pretty.
Nice.
It was pretty funny. And then he had a Bob Ross t-shirt. Oh, it was good.
There we go. I think I like that.
Birds.
All right, I'm going to take my tape off because I like to see the white border.
And people do like to watch you taking the tape off.
Which is not sticking very very fast because of the heat gun and also because it's cheap Dollar Tree tape.
The birds do look nice.
There we go. And there we have it. Let's get it in the frame here. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's a pretty simple one. If you have any questions after the show, then just go ahead and put them in the comments, and I will pop in here and there now and then and answer them. So, all right. No more questions? We're good?
We're good.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.